Welcome to News9 Live, and you are watching On Point with me. In the first On Point, we will discuss the mass pager explosion in Lebanon. Lebanon was rocked by synchronized explosions on Tuesday when 5,000 pagers went off simultaneously, leaving 12 dead and over 3,000 injured. These are iconic visuals being played. And thousands of such pagers incapacitated Hezbollah fighters. They were in market, at their home, senior functionaries, even those not involved. Israeli spy agency Mossad, as per the reports, planted 3 grams of explosives inside 5,000 Taiwan-made pagers ordered by terrorist group Hezbollah months before Tuesday's detonation. The devices were programmed to beep for several seconds before detonating. The Lebanese security source said that the pagers were indeed from Taiwan-based Gold Apollo, but the company, on the other hand, issued a statement and said it did not manufacture the device. It said they were made by a company called BAC, based in the Hungarian capital, which has a license to use its brand. However, the CEO of BAC denied making the devices and said they were just an intermediary. Now, this is not the first time Israel had conducted an operation like that. And I'm sure that this is not going to be the last time. On this, I'm joined by Dr. Alexander Greenberg, someone who understands security, expert at the Jerusalem Institute for Security and Strategy. Thank you so much for joining me at On Point.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Greenberg, what sort of a objective would the mass explosion of pagers serve?
Could you repeat your question? I'm not
what
sure
sort of objective would that serve?
Oh, look, first of all, I thank you for your compliments, but I understand Iran and geopolitics. I understand security only in the broader context. I've never been a Mossad operative, so I really don't know who and how did and conducted this operation. But I can suggest that, first of all, the first result of this operation is also a public humiliation for Hezbollah. I don't know whether the Mossad thought this is an effect that will be produced, but we can see here that everyone who has or had this device exploded, which says, "Hi, this guy is a Hezbollah terrorist." And as we know, Hezbollah controls Lebanon. It presents in literally every structure of the Lebanese state. And here we see that Hezbollah, we see it's real. Hezbollah are everywhere. And it also demonstrates the capacity of Israeli intelligence to penetrate everywhere into Hezbollah structures, and they cannot understand where it comes from. So it's also create an effect that they are shocked. It's not the first they're shocked. It was after Haniya's assassination in Iran, after a recent raid of the Israeli special forces to the factory of long-range missiles in Syria, and now and of course assassination of Fuad Shukr, the chief commander of Hezbollah. Here is an opportunity to mention that Fuad Shukr has blood of hundreds, if not thousands, of Arabs and Westerners, and I believe also Indians, on his hands since the 80s. It's not an anonymous éminence grise. And now this effect also accumulates their shock. which is good, but I'm far from suggesting that this or another spectacular operation will prevent the war. It's an altogether different question.
Another issue
The
is
Iran, sorry, just I forgot to, Iran is a key player here. So several RGC officers were wounded in this operation. Also, Iran's ambassador to Lebanon, Mojtaba Amani, he was very seriously wounded. He lost his sight. And everyone must keep in mind that Iran's ambassador to Beirut or Damascus is never a diplomat staffed by the Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is always a high-ranking artist.
okay, but
He also used this pager and he exploded, which proves he was working with Hezbollah.
But do you think that will this work as a deterrence or a provocation for a wider conflict in north of Israel?
I don't think it's a one-time deterrence. No, because Hezbollah is too serious an organization. In fact, it's an army and organization that controls Lebanon. It's not just a small terrorist organization somewhere that you can neutralize with one deterrence action. But yes, it sums up to some bigger deterrent effect that maybe they will fear to expose Israel to fresh missile attacks, more serious than what we were seeing now. But again, it is clear, it is a consensus within the Israeli intelligence community and the army that both Hezbollah and Iran don't want war, and Hezbollah also knows that Israel doesn't want war. The problem is that you can never win in such a situation.
But the other aspect here has been that the capacity of the Israel to attack without crossing the border in the deep state operation, whether it's Lebanon, Iran, is not new. But it has not led to de-escalation of violence. It has led to escalation of violence in different theaters. Do you think in long run these conflict, I'm not using the word conflicts, I'm using the word conflicts in plural, are manageable for the state of Israel? I think 3 days ago, Houthis fired a missile which traveled 2,000 kilometers, and it's a non-state terrorist group.
I think it may be manageable on the condition that Israel and first of all the United States of America realize the fact that you can never win or subdue a mafia gang dealing with not with the godfather, I mean Iran, but with his errand boys. Indeed, there is no way for Israel and even for America, as we see now, to neuter the Houthi missiles. It's literally impossible. But what concerns Iran, it is manageable, possible, given that Iran is a very weak state in terms of a conventional military might.
But a lot of people are saying that this technology demonstration on part of Israel can give ideas to hundreds of non-state actors, It's like a bomb in your pocket or a bomb in your waist.
Yeah, look, frankly speaking, I have no idea how it is possible technically, because pager, it's not even a smartphone. For example, Hamas leader Yahya Ayash was assassinated through not smartphone, a mobile cell phone with an explosive charge in '96. But pager, I really don't know how it's possible to install their charge. But here we see it happens, and to do that in hundreds of devices and to explode them simultaneously in several locations, I have no clue how it may be done, but this can be done. But still, I would like to emphasize that this or another operation cannot come instead of a military strategy aiming at the victory in terms of Clausewitz and traditional military thinking.
Dr. Greenberg, it's going to be a year next year, 7th October, when that attack on Israel took place. Thousands died on that day. They were butchered. The conflict has not ended. After that attack, the conflict has widened. Just put this in perspective. Israel has fought back on all the fronts, but it has not created neither the stable border nor stable situation for the state of Israel. What do you think is likely to happen in the next year?
You know, there is a Talmudic proverb saying that the prophecy was taken from the prophets and given to fools and the babies. So I'm neither this nor that, so I really don't know. But I think that Israel has sufficient trust in its capacity to withstand and to win, because it is clear that Hamas and other Islamist organizations will produce another similar attack once they have a possibility. Second, all of the acolytes of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, they're everywhere across the Muslim world, and Hamas and Gaza must be crushed. So similar ideas never come to mind of their acolytes in Egypt or in Pakistan, Afghanistan, all the Muslim world. But still, I think despite the tragedy and the primary shock of what happened, still everyone can see that the IDF managed to come over and continue the fight, and we are on the way of uprooting Hamas, contrary to some prophecies between the brackets that were uttered in Israel that it's impossible to destroy Hamas because Hamas is an idea. So my answer is, after the Second World War, the Nazis were not destroyed, but Nazism was not destroyed. Many Nazis survived and remained, even kept working at the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but the Nazism was under control. So it's difficult. It's true that Israel is not designed for a long attrition war, because Israel is a sprinter runner, not a marathon runner. So, but I believe that Israel can get into the habit of managing other types of war. And also I see the Israeli society, not necessarily the Israeli government, again, another question, but the Israeli society as a whole. I think economy functions, and you can see unpaired courage and voluntarism and mutual help within Israeli society, which gives inspiration.
Dr. Greenberg, last 30 seconds, what are the lessons learned from the 7th of October? Because it also marked the technical failure of intelligence for Israel. What's the biggest lesson learned?
Well, there's so many big lessons, but first I would think no technology can replace human brain, and that's it. And so never disdain your enemy. It was one of the biggest mistake, but all these mistakes are technical. The problem is not that Israel disdained the capacities of Hamas. Israel refused to see in Hamas enemy, deadly enemy. And I think as a result of this tragedy, the whole belief of some segments of Israeli society in the possibility to arrangements with the Palestinians failed.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for joining me from Israel. 7th of
Thank you.
October, a year will pass. On that day, Israel was attacked. And since then, thousands of Palestinians have died in Gaza. Thousands of Israelis died that day. More than 30,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. There is a war looming on the northern border. I am joined by Dr. W Avad, strategic expert, West Asia. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. My question to you is, with this action which took place inside Lebanon, will it act as a deterrent to Hezbollah, or will have a wider ramification on the northern borders?
Thank you. I don't see this as an attack on Hezbollah, particularly if we consider this is a civilian item used by civilians all over the world. And this attack is not limited to the Hezbollah fighters, because everybody is using it. In fact, that's a clear act of terrorism by a state-sponsored terrorist country. So therefore, we cannot look at it from the angle of Hezbollah. And Hezbollah already made it very clear to the Israelis and to the rest of the world that this war on Israel will not stop till Israel finishes its aggression on the Gaza and the attack and the killing of the Palestinian, and also should also withdraw from the occupied territories in Lebanon, which is still occupying it, Shibab farms. So therefore, this war will go on, and will not change the mindset of the Hezbollah or the Lebanese resistance forces against Israelis' expansion and aggressions.
Do you expect the northern border to flare up? Because last time, when in 1996, when they bumped off one of the chief bomb makers of Hamas in the Gaza, it led to escalation and violence. Sheikh Hayaz.
No, see, the problem we are trying to understand here, this war is not escalation, the war is already on. And if this attack carried out by the Israelis, Mossad and the international intelligence agencies, it's a clear indication that they want to widen this war. If you are attacking and killing this large scale of population, you don't care about the population of the region. You just wanted to have a scapegoat from what's happening in Gaza, because you have already failed in achieving your objectives in Gaza and reoccupying it and killing the Hamas fighters inside the Gaza Strip failed by Israel. So when Netanyahu wanted to expand this war, he attacked the Iranian consulate in Damascus. He tried to drag Iran. Now he's attacking on the Lebanon, which is a very clear indication that he is willing to widen this war. And I don't see any near future ending of this war, because this is a perpetual provocation for permanent war.
Why do you use the word permanent war? 7th of October, a year, on the day when the Hamas terrorists attacked Israel and they killed thousands of these innocent Israeli citizens, which gave rise to this conflagration at that point in time. And I really don't want to get into the history of the that there are political issues, which I do agree with you that there are political issues out of which the terrorist act took place. But indeed, it was a terror act. So are you saying that nothing is going to change after 7th of October, even after a year of war?
No, I think what we are missing here, actually, we are missing reading the history of the war. The war on Israel, or the Palestinian-Israeli war, did not start on the 7th of October. The 7th of October was a culmination of 76 years of Israeli aggression against the Palestinians. The whole world knows this, and you know it also very well. And if Hamas is considered by the United States as a terrorist organization, we do not consider it as a terrorist organization. Everybody look at Hamas as a resistance forces against occupation. So Israel's existence is depending on the existence of Hamas. So as long as Israel exists, Hamas will exist, because Israel is an aggression state, is occupying territories, and they have the legitimate right to fight them. So 75 years of fighting the Israelis have led to this kind of culmination on the attack on Israel. So I don't see really that the Hamas is not Palestine, but Palestine also is not Hamas. Hamas is part of the Palestinian resistance forces. And I think what's happening in Gaza, it's beyond the imagination of any human being that this is a war against Hamas. It is a war against the Palestinians, and you should also focus more on the West Bank and East Jerusalem, where the Israelis have detained more than 10,000, killed more than 500 Palestinians, and they are daily annexing the land, and they are terrorizing the citizens there, and they wanted permanently to annex this part and declare the whole state of Israel as the state of Israel without even the Palestinian. So are we here just narrating the narrative of the Israelis, propagandas and the West, that this is the war is only because of Hamas? Not at all. I am not naive that I should understand from only the perspective of the American and the Israeli narrative, because here we are finding a people suffering under the occupation and under any legitimate law, under the UN Charter, under any, even the jungle law. When you having your own territories, when you're living under your own house and home, and somebody come and occupy and force you and kills your children and rape your daughters and mother, and you expect him to sit down and accept you with the open hands until you kill the rest of the family? I don't see it. So therefore, we understand that this is a war will continue, and the reason for continuing the war because Israel does not recognize the Palestinian as a Palestinian state. Let me share with you these two maps, which will make you and your audience more understanding. This is from an Israeli map. Israeli party, which is declared as the Greater Israel, which you can see it from Euphrates to Nile. It's included Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and the northern 1/3 of Saudi Arabia. Is the way we should look at ourselves? That this is
Mr.
what
Abbas,
Israel...
you know, I've had the opportunity not only to travel to Israel, but also cover the conflict in Syria from Aleppo to Homs to Palmyra. I do have a basic knowledge of that area. I do understand.
Okay.
I do understand this is neither the Israeli state is going to go anywhere, nor there will be a complete diminishing of support to Palestine. If there is an issue of Greater Israel, then there is a slogan from sea to the river. So I mean to say that both the states will need to coexist.
It is. So why don't you tell the your Israeli friends?
I'm not the spokesperson of Israel. I'm not the spokesperson of the Israel.
No. I'm not saying you are a spokesperson, but if you have knowledge of this, I'm sure you have enough knowledge. You have UN Security Council resolution, which speak volumes of implementing this resolution in a two-state existence. And that is what the Arab want. Listen, the Arab initiative in 2000, when it started in Lebanon, it was land for peace. And they said, you recognize Palestine, we recognize you. Israel refused bluntly. When we went to Madrid in 1992, it was for the same reason. Americans have put pressure on the Israelis. They want to discuss the issue with them, but they refused. They signed with Arafat, Oslo agreement. They signed with Jordan, the Araba deal. And yet, even with the Egyptian on the Camp David, nothing happened. Why is nothing happened? Is the Arab does not want peace with Israel, or is it vice versa? If you do not see who is the victim and who is the aggressor, and
Mr. Avad, I'm really falling short of time. It's like a chicken and egg debate, but I do agree that there has to be some sort of a resolution in the West Bank area. I know it started with the Sheikh Jarrah 3.5 years ago, and I think this loop cycle of violence needs to end. And what happened subsequently in Gaza was also emanating from the settling process which was taking place in West Bank. But I do have to say that what happened on the 7th of October was not resistance, it was an act of terror. But then in a democratic way, you had your right to say your point of view on my program, and I thank you for joining me. But before I close, I leave my audience with a package on how this operation came about, what is a pager, what is the technology behind it, how did it explode, how was it planned, what happened. I leave you with this package.
Security camera footage of a market in Beirut captures this moment on Tuesday. Something explodes, seemingly from inside one person's pocket or bag, and the man falls to the floor, crying in pain. Lebanon's health minister said blasts like these killed at least 8 people and injured more than 2,800 across the country, many of them fighters and medics from the militant Islamist group Hezbollah. The pagers they used to communicate exploded. The pagers began to detonate around 3:45 p.m. local time, and explosions continued for an hour. It was not immediately clear how the devices were detonated. A Hezbollah official speaking on condition of anonymity said the detonation of the pagers was, quote, the biggest security breach the group had been subjected to in nearly a year of war with Israel. The Israeli military declined to comment on Reuters' inquiries about the blasts. Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah have been engaged in cross-border warfare since the Gaza war erupted last October, the worst escalation in years. Iran's Mehr news agency said the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon, Mojtaba Amani, seen here in July, was injured by one of the pager explosions. Reuters could not immediately confirm the report. A senior Hezbollah source told Reuters the group's leader, Said Hassan Nasrallah, was not harmed. At one hospital, a Reuters reporter saw motorcycles rushing to the emergency room where people with their hands bloodied were screaming in pain. The head of a public hospital in the south of the country told Reuters that around 40 wounded people were being treated at his facility. The wounds included injuries to the face, eyes, and limbs.